Welcome back to PHIL 2103, Introduction to Philosophy and Ethics Online. In your first video, you learned about theology and how theology and philosophy are both radically totalitarian in scope, meaning they encompass everything. In this video, you will learn about the introduction to philosophy. In your textbooks, Rauhut says that philosophy is an attempt to develop a big picture view of the universe with the help of reason. Like theology, philosophy comes from two Greek terms. The first is philia, which is love or brotherly love, and the second is sophia, which is wisdom. Therefore, philosophy aims to be a love of wisdom. Philosophy seeks to provide a lens through which to understand all of life. As such, philosophy deals with worldviews, and a worldview can be considered like a pair of glasses. Just a couple years ago, I didn't have to wear glasses at all. I went in to see an eye doctor, and he actually said and asked me, "Have you never had glasses before?" And when I said why, he just simply said, "You'll see." And so when he first gave me these glasses, I noticed that the world around me was all of a sudden sharper and was shaped by the lenses that I was looking through. And this is exactly what a worldview is. If these glasses happened to be sunglasses, everything around me would be dark. If the lenses in them were blue or red or green or purple, then the world around me would be shaded in those colors. The worldview that we have is a lens that sits right in front of us and through which we see all of life. Both philosophy and theology seek to be a lens through which to understand all of reality. Philosophers, however, appeal to the power of human reason, that is, primarily the mind. Philosophers say that everyone lives by some personal worldview or philosophy of life. Dr. Francis Schaeffer has said all people are philosophers, for all people have a worldview. Whether it's shaped by your religion, whether it's shaped by your experience, or whether it's shaped by uncritically reflecting on life, every one of us has a lens through which we see life. Dr. Wendell Sutton has said, the question is not whether you will be a philosopher, the question is, will you be a good philosopher? In philosophy, a person does not grow by knowing all of the answers, but by living with the questions. And so in your journey into philosophy, you'll need to begin to question what you've known in the past. You'll need to question background beliefs that maybe you have not critically analyzed before. Norman Geisler says the indispensable ingredient possessed by a good philosopher is an inquiring or questioning mind. Roger Olson, a theologian, says, "We do God no favors by being gullible, credulous, irrational, or uncritical. God gave us minds, and He expects us to use them." In this course, you'll start to see this understanding of divine revelation, which is through theology, and human reason. Now, secular philosophy will tell you that divine revelation and human reason are enemies. They are opposites of one another. Divine revelation is an unthinking man's faith. It is without questioning, just taking what someone else has said at face value. Whereas human reason analyzes arguments and looks for background beliefs. Thomas Aquinas has said that to impugn human reason is to impugn God. And Cal Thomas says that faith is never solely a matter of evidence. Otherwise, all would believe in the evidence that has been revealed. Faith is a matter of the will. People choose to accept or reject evidence. In this course, one of the things you'll find is that human reason and divine revelation are actually allies. God, as it was said, has given us brains and He expects us to use them. One of the tools you'll understand soon is Hegel's dialectic method. Under Hegel's dialectic method, he said, it is not the thesis, which is a statement, nor the antithesis, which is the opposite of that statement, but the synthesis in which you will find truth. And so if human reason and divine revelation were the antithesis and the thesis, what we seek to provide in this course is an intermingling of the two, where divine revelation and human reason work hand in hand. In this course, you'll be introduced to 5 branches of philosophy. The first of these is logic, which you'll be engaging in rather quickly in these videos. Logic is the study and nature of arguments. Philosophy is about argumentation. This does not mean that we are bitter or angry towards one another, but when someone poses an idea, the goal of a philosopher is to question and test that idea, and it comes together in argumentation. The second branch is epistemology, which studies the scope and nature of knowledge. How do we know what we know? Can we know what we know for sure? All of these are questions in epistemology. The next branch is metaphysics, which studies the nature of ultimate reality. This is where theology and philosophy will most generally overlap one another. The fourth branch is ethics. Now, ethics, as you'll notice, is roughly half of this course, but it is actually a branch within philosophy. The reason we've broken it off as a portion all its own is that it is the most practical to your everyday life. You deal with ethical questions, with ethical dilemmas every single day, and so you need to understand a lens through which to see and understand these ethical problems. The last is aesthetics. Aesthetics studies questions about art and beauty. So art itself is even a branch within philosophy, so long as it is a questioning about what art's merit is or its beauty. In philosophy, you'll understand that there are three methods for explaining the world around us. These start with mythology. Now, mythology does not necessarily mean myth, as in a falsehood, but it is a traditional, powerful story. It may be true or may not be. The Greek gods, for example, were a mythology through which an entire civilization sought to understand their world. The second worldview, or the second lens you'll need to see, is through religion. Religion is based upon mythology, but adds in the element of divine revelation. Again, this doesn't mean that religion is false, but there are mythological stories that have shaped the Hebrew, the Christian, the Islamic world that then are added with this element of "thus saith the Lord." The last is philosophy. And philosophy is based purely on human reason. It divorces itself from the others in that it does not seek to understand traditional stories. It does not seek to provide a story to life, but it seeks to understand the questions of what life is about. There are four elements that you'll need to understand in philosophy. The first of these is the knowledge of and construction of arguments. In philosophy, as stated, you are making a thesis, that is a statement that you are backing up with human reason or evidence. Secondly, you're responding to persistent questioning. Good philosophers question everything. And so when you pose a thesis, the role of the philosopher is to then take that and question all aspects of it. The third is social activity that requires engaging with others. A thesis or a theory is not considered to be valid or well-developed unless it has been put to the public venue, where other philosophers, other worldview constructs are applied around it so that you can see what each angle looks like on this theory. And lastly, philosophy seeks to create a plurality of opinions. In this, you may find some struggle. If you are one who tends to fall into a category of seeking one answer for each thing, which is typically more my case in some ways, then you will be stretched and expanded by these other worldviews, these other opinions that exist on nature of life. Though they are not required for this course, I have a couple recommended resources that would help you if you choose to seek them. The first is the Popular Encyclopedia of Apologetics, which is by Ed Hindson and Ergen Kainer. The Popular Encyclopedia of Apologetics goes through and explains through a theological lens and defends the Christian faith. The second is The Universe Next Door by James W. Sire. This was formerly a textbook for this class and gives you an understanding of pantheism, panentheism, the religious history of Christianity, and how you can see through monotheism or polytheism what it looks like to understand this world. The last one is the Pocket Dictionary of Theological Terms. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It is simply a very small dictionary that has some complex theological terms you may run across in this course. Again, none of these are required books, but ones you may want to see for this. To close out this lecture, I want to give you an understanding of what it means to prepare to philosophize. Now you'll see that this is also a required handout that you'll come across later in the course. Philosophizing involves 4 psychological traits to improve effective communication. The first of these is the courage to examine one's cherished beliefs critically. One of the greatest gifts I was ever given in attending Mid-America Christian University was a professor who simply asked, "Why do you believe that?" In many cases, I had never questioned why I believed what I believed. And it was that why question that allowed me to find deep truths that were behind these truths I believed. A second thing is a willingness to advance tentative hypotheses and take the first step in reacting to a philosophical claim, no matter how foolish that reaction might seem at the time. Part of philosophy is saying, I think this might be it. Even if you think it sounds crazy, even if it sounds immediately foolish, sometimes you have to get that out there just so we can go through and examine the questions to find answers. Thirdly, there's a desire to place the search for truth above the satisfaction of apparently winning the debate and the frustration of losing it. In this course, you'll be engaged in debate at various points throughout, and the goal is not to win your argument, but to help the other person see where their argument has flaws or where they need to tighten up their thinking on a certain matter. Lastly, there's an ability to separate one's personality from the content of discussion. It is a logical fallacy to attack a person rather than an ideology. And so in philosophy, one of the goals is to separate your person from a belief system that you are espousing. This doesn't mean that you are disingenuous to yourself or that you don't truly believe what you believe, but it means separating out what truth is from who you are as a flawed person. This has been your introduction to philosophy. I'm excited to keep going in this course with you.